Hi, this is Mel Haynes, and you're watching a quick little promo I'm putting together on SQL Server 2008 using the Database Engine Tuning Advisor. This is a clip that'll be part of my upcoming SQL Server 2008 Database Developer course, and you get a chance to see it a little bit in advance. But a little bit about me. Once again, I'm Mel, and there's actually a few more letters after my name since I created that slide. I've done the SQL Server certifications and have a degree in computer science, shows a little bit further down, and done quite a few other things in the Microsoft arena. But enough about me. Here, let's jump over and look at the Database Engine Tuning Advisor. So going start, and if we go all programs, just go this route. Microsoft SQL Server, go into Performance Tools, and under here I can find my Database Engine Tuning Advisor. So I can start it directly, but for the first time around, let's go actually through the SQL Server Management Studio. And after I log in, as we've done a few times before, I'm going to open up some code. So open file, and I have a Database Tuning Advisor code sample. Open that up, and it's just a simple query, actually 3 queries in a row, that will, here, let me run it. It makes a lot more sense if you just see it. You probably recall this from another video if you've been watching along for a while, but it's 3 queries in a row. The first one simply gives me the customer that belongs to an order, so it's kind of a backwards lookup. Given this order number, give me that customer and all their information, so name, address, city, state, zip. The second query gives me all the order details from the order detail table based on that order number. Very helpful information if you want to pull together an invoice or something like that for somebody for an order. Make that a little more visible. There we go. So I can see all 10 items that Tammy ordered, and I can see that wonderful total of $1,711. So I think she's like the highest order total in our database. I actually did a query for the highest total. So she won, so she gets the prize, right? And I did some math on it. I gave it quantity, sales price, and gave it subtotal, so I have that information. So just kind of basic stuff in the query. If I scroll over, you can see I did that right here. Order details quantity times flour sales price, and then I titled it subtotal for that column. And then down below, scrolling back over this way, I have my sum function I'm using to sum across all the items. So flour's sales price times quantity, and sum all of those as total from those 2 tables, joining them on flour IDs for that order. Right? And if you do the math, I did the math a while back, it works out. So that looks good. So now the question becomes, though, is this an efficient query? And we've talked a little bit about some of the tools available before, but here, if I just right click here in the middle, there's Analyze Query in Database Engine Tuning Advisor as an option. If I click on that, another way to get into the Database Engine Tuning Advisor, and if you wait patiently, this will actually set some default options based on the query that I selected. So there, it comes back. I'll go ahead and maximize that so I can see it. And it already did some things, such as my 3 choices for workload were pull a workload, which we haven't defined yet. We'll define that in a second. But I could have pulled it from a file, from a table, or from a query. Well, we just had a query in the screen, and I automatically assumed we wanted a query. We'll go back to what a workload is in a second, though. Database workload analysis, what database we're looking at. It selected Veronica's. It got that right. And then of the various databases I have available to me, it picked Veronica's, and it went on and picked all the tables in my Veronica's database. But you can see other information about my database. I can see the schemas and the various tables and the schemas are associated with. There are IDs. These are internal representations that SQL uses. You don't need those for much of anything we're doing right now. The sizes of those tables, we have a very small staff right now, right? Employee numbers are still 0. We just haven't done a whole lot with those tables, so never populated them. But my client flour match tables and my customer tables, all 5,500 of them. I'm sorry, 39,000 of them. The size of it is 5,500 plus. And number of flours, 4,500, etc. So all that information is in there. I could have picked an individual table or group of tables for analysis, but once again, based on that query, it automatically selected all of those for me. I can save the tuning to a log, and there's other descriptive information down here. It gives this session, as it's called, a name that's based on today's date and time. Automatically does that. And you can have multiple sessions here. If I were to run this multiple times, each time it would create a new session and save any configuration changes that I make. All right. Let's go to tuning options and look a little bit there. Limit tuning time, right? So I can tell it to stop at a certain time. It's currently about an hour before that, so it's automatically defaulting to saying only an hour, because some of these tuning operations could get pretty extensive and SQL can get kind of lost in its own analysis. So I can limit the time if I choose to. If I go to physical design structures to use in database, pause, door slam. It's defaulting to only using indexes, which is fine. That's all I'm going to need for what I'm doing right now. I can give it different types, non-clustered indexes, include filtered indexes, so I can add other things. I can change this. Partitioning, I'm telling it don't bother by default. It comes in with no partitioning. Physical design structures to keep in the database. Keep all existing physical design structures. So anything that's already there, don't mess with it, right? And if I go to advanced options, here, let's click on that. Define maximum space for recommendations, because indexes take up time. I'm sorry, space, not so much time to create them, but space. Do I want to limit how much space that I want to allocate for indexes that result from this? I could if I choose. Maximum columns per index. It defaults to basically the maximum amount of columns you can have in an index. Chances are it won't get crazy. Even if it does, you don't have to accept the recommendations. You could run it again and put a limit on it if you need to, but it might be good to run it the first time without a limit, or whatever the default limit is, and see what it comes back with. Alright? But the larger that number and the larger the number of columns in your index, the maintenance cost on that's going to grow pretty fast too. So you want to watch that. And then online index recommendations. All recommendations are offline. So you're recommending things that require the database to be offline versus recommendations. Airplane overhead. That can be implemented online. So structural changes, changing the way the number of columns in a table and things of that nature, you can't do that kind of stuff online. And then generate online recommendations where possible, but give me whatever works, right? Give me the best possible options. We'll leave it at the default there also. Click OK. Go back to General. And let's go to one more thing. I could actually start up my SQL Server Profiler from here, as well as my SQL Server Management Studio from here if I wanted to. And after I start the analysis, there's some cool things. Apply recommendations, save recommendations, evaluate recommendations. We're going to go ahead and start it. Let it chug along. It's got 5 steps. So back over on my server, estimated improvement of 46%. Based on a couple, or in this case only one recommendation, and that is creating an index on my order detail table. If I scroll over more, there's the actual size of it, 56. The definition here, if I double click on definition, it actually shows me the language that I would use to create that index. So I can copy that to the clipboard and manually run it. I could also, if I go to actions, I can apply recommendations right from here where it automatically would run that. I personally prefer doing it myself just because I'm maybe old-fashioned, but I like having a little more control. So I'm going to copy and paste this over here. And one thing I don't like this long cryptic name it gives it. If I'm going to create an index, I usually like to come up with something a little more user-friendly. So database tuning engine index order details, that's enough to let me know where it came from and get rid of some of the extra characters I don't have to keep track of. But if I execute that from here, I can create my index myself. Same thing. So I've implemented the changes. If I go to tables, go to order details, go to indexes, and I can see my new index that I just created. So once again, I'm Mel Haynes with Train Signal. I hope you found that helpful, and you can reach me via email at using mel@trainsignal.com, and of course there's our website as well. Thank you so much for watching.